Not true.
Hello everyone, Andy here for my first book review in a long time. Sorry that it has been so long, but glad to be back here with you guys. Today we are doing a spoiler discussion on Return of the Crimson Guard by E.N.C. Esslemont. This book was a mixed bag from the beginning that, as it got longer and deeper into the story, the mixed bag, the ratio became more bad than good. I'm stretching the metaphor here, but basically, this book had a great story, interesting world building, but every other part of it I felt didn't quite work for me. E.N.C. Esslemont, I think, in this book is trying to tell a Malazan tale with the voice of Steven Erikson. If I have my timelines right, basically, Erikson had found a lot of success in the first 4 to 5 books of the Malazan Book of the Fallen before Esslemont got a book deal and started writing his own novels of the Malazan Empire. And I think because of the success of those early books and wanting to have kind of a seamless storytelling journey for the reader, Esslemont, when he started writing, tried to emulate what Erikson was doing in Malazan Book of the Fallen. And it is of my opinion, as a critic and as a fan of Malazan, that just doesn't work. I don't think Esslemont is the same writer as Erikson, which is not like a crazy thing to say. Every writer is somewhat unique, and I think it is really detrimental in this book especially that Esslemont tries to do that. He tries to tell the story through a lot of different viewpoints from different sides of a conflict. He doesn't tell you the exact X's and O's. He keeps key figures at arm's length from you, so you don't know exactly what, for instance, Empress Lysine is thinking during this whole rebellion. And even some of the flavor of it reminds me a lot of Dead House Gates, as far as like a continent-wide rebellion with sort of the Empire trying to keep things together and local tribes trying to take back their locations and atrocities being done because of this. So there's a lot of the same beats there that I just don't think aren't done as well. And I want to be very clear here, I'm not saying that Esslemont is a bad writer, because actually his writing, especially at certain points, I really enjoyed. It is his voice that is trying to, like I said, reflect Erikson in the main town, which I don't think Esslemont does as well. Good news is, I have heard from multiple people that I've talked to since I finished reading this that Esslemont himself seems to have realized this, because in his later books like Blood and Bone and well, Assail isn't out yet, but Orb Scepter Throne, he seems to change his voice and talks more as himself rather than Erikson. And I think that's really going to be interesting because Esslemont is different than Erikson. He is more linear in his storytelling. He's more interested in sort of the intricate details and telling the reader about that. One example I have that I really enjoyed is there's a whole section at the beginning where I thought very elegantly, simply, and like naturally, the deck of dragons is explained, at least like the different houses, why there are different things in each houses, what the unaligned cards mean. I think that was very well done. I think that is Esslemont's strength. His world building is actually phenomenal, I think, and that's the best part of this book. I love that section. I love the little bit about the Crimson Guard, about, you know, the details of what it means to be sort of immortal and the avowed and how that's a blessing and a curse. All that stuff I thought was really, really interesting. And some of his main characters, well, actually, one of his main characters, I would say Kyle, I was actually very interested in and I thought had a fascinating story. The problem was all of that good stuff, I think, is overshadowed by confusing character beats, he's not as fast as Erikson to have us latch on to character viewpoints, and so the multiple perspective storytelling doesn't work as well. And by the end of the book, I was really feeling burdened down and just like, not dreading, but just really not enjoying the reading experience, even though like the action and stuff was very, very cool. All that to say is, I'm gonna talk a little more spoilery in a second, but I wanted to give my final judgment for this is in my If You Like X category. If you like the Malazan Book of the Fallen, if you like the Malazan world, this is a must read because it does go through some very interesting world plot points, most especially, well, I'll talk about that in the spoiler cast, but I almost gave away a key thing. But, so definitely you need to read this book if you're into the Malazan world. And if you like the Malazan world, I think there's enough in here that you will at least find it a worthwhile experience. However, I do not think it is a great book on its own. Probably the biggest thing that bugged me in here is the deaths of Teshrine and Lasine in this book, which are obviously huge plot points, or I should say world points, I guess, in the world of the Malazan Empire. But both I felt like were it felt rather worthless, or like weightless is probably a better word for it. Lasine is sort of murdered by this person that we don't really know much about, and then Teshrine just gets like kicked into chaos or drawn into chaos. And neither of them do we have really close viewpoints of why that happened. Especially, I was disappointed because we got some Teshrine viewpoints in Knight of Knives, which I so enjoyed. He's one of my favorite, like, not explored characters. And so I thought that there would be more of that in here that there just wasn't. I will say I think Malak Rel is interesting, having some viewpoints of him in here. But there wasn't enough of it. I was so excited that, oh, we're going to see Malak Rel's rise to power and sort of a different angle than we got, obviously, in the bad side of Deadhouse Gates. Nope, nothing there. There's just, like, the things that I thought were valuable and could be cool in this particular story were sort of ignored, and we had to focus on sort of this storytelling of the Avowed and Skinner, Shimmer, rivalries, and Kyle wandering. I will say, a good part of sort of the world, I do like the Traveler stuff, and sort of the subtle hints of what's to come in Toll the Hounds. I'm kind of rambling at this point. I think you guys get what I feel like on this. I think this is some people really like this book. I am probably not as hot on it, for sure, as some people. But also, I think the community kind of recognizes that this is still Esslemont sort of finding his voice. Some good stuff in here, but overall not my favorite. Certainly, I think Knight of Knives I like better as far as, like, the hierarchy of my Esslemont books. But I will definitely keep reading Esslemont, and I'm really excited for him to find his voice and to start writing more in his voice than Erikson's. And I think when he does that, I can see why people are really jazzed about his other books, and especially Kellenved's Reach and Deadhouse, what's that? Landing, Deadhouse Landing, his Paths to Ascendancy. I'm really excited about that. So all that to say is, it was fine. Didn't really enjoy it overall. I thought it was a missed opportunity, but I'm not, like, you know, throwing Esslemont out with the bathwater. I think he's got some good stuff in here, just needs to refine that. I will say, by the way, though, I'm very strongly opposed to any reading list of Malazan that puts reading this book before the main 10. I'm still very strongly opposed to breaking up the main 10 after reading 2 of these Esslemont books. Maybe Knight of Knives because it's short you can throw in there, but even that, I think momentum is so key in Malazan. I don't think we need to have this sideshow. Read it after the main 10, and I think it's just as enjoyable. So that's it. Let me know what you think about Knight of Knives in the comments below. A lot of my friends are starting to do, like, give me an emoji if you made it to the end of the video, so I'm gonna try it in this one. If you made it to the end of this one, just give me a little sword emoji, like the magical wind sword that Kyle has, apparently. So leave me a sword emoji if you made it to the end and you don't want to say anything, but let me know your thoughts of Return of the Crimson Guard, and how soon I should run to the next Esslemont book. But thank you guys for watching. As always, first in, last out.